This
With me.
conference will now be recorded.
Yep. So today we are going to talk about one of the important service called Route 53, which is nothing but your domain name system service. It's very, very important service because a lot of your URL mappings and everything depends on your DNS server. So before we actually get into the Route 53, we'll quickly see about like what are the different domain names that we have and how actually it works, right? So whenever we hit in a browser www.google.com, what happens? Can anyone say in the background? So basically, whenever you hit www.google.com, the browser by default puts a period after your com. Okay, so let's see why is this and how this happens, right? So a machine can talk to a machine only through IP, right? A machine can talk only through and to another machine using IP, but we as humans cannot remember numbers. So we always map the name to numbers. So we'll see how this actually happens, right? This dot by default, whether you give it in the browser or not, the browser will send this dot. So this dot represents root. This dot represent root. Then you have com. Okay, they are called top level domains, TLDs. They are called top level domains. Okay, then your entire domain like this, they are called root domain or naked domain, or they are called apex domain, zone apex, right? They are called zone apex domain, zone apex domain, right? So they're all called with this name. So this is called a root domain, or it's also called as a naked domain or a zone apex, right? They can use any term in this. So they are actually representing this full root domain. So if that is the case, then what is this one, right? This is called, either they call it as non-root or it is also called as subdomain. It's also called as subdomain. Okay, so these are the different ways that we represent our this one. So when we hit google.com, what happens? First thing, basically when your browser sends this, it doesn't understand the Google. So what it has to do, it has to have the IP. So where it will go and find the IP, there are different designated companies or designated servers where it will go and search for the records containing google.com, which has the correct mapping to the IP address. So think of this as an inverted tree. We have a tree. So where the root is on down, all the branches are on the top. Think of it as an inverted tree, right? The root will be on the top. So whenever the browser hits, the first thing it will check is it will go to a root. Then after that means the first server where it will have the list of all the top level domains. So it will see what is this top level domain, whether it's .com, .net or .org, whatever it is, right? It will find out from this particular piece whether what is the top level domain. Based on the top level domain, it will forward to set up different servers to find out if there is, if it's a com for example .com, then it may forward to one particular server, and that will go and search for all the records containing google.com. And if it finds some records with google.com, then it will return an IP address of that Google, for example 1.2.3.4. and what happens, your DNS server does this. So DNS server will route this to find out the root, then it will find out the top level domain, it will find out the record. If the record is present, it will give you the IP back. So your browser, where it says google.com, basically it goes to the DNS server, gets your IP is given back to your browser, and browser will communicate only through IP. So whenever it reaches an IP address 1.2.34 in the server, then it will return the response of the Google page. This is what actually happens in our background. So every time that we query this google.com, it has to go to the DNS server. Okay, this DNS server is maintained by somebody, so the Google has to pay. Google has to pay. Okay, now There are a lot of domain name servers like that. Route 53 is one of the service that is used to go and find the DNS server, and we can go and create some records for our own domains that we buy. Okay, with this in the background, let's go back and see what is Route 53. Any questions here, guys? So this is how your browser actually works. And again, keep in mind, at any point of time, a browser can only communicate with one single IP. So I cannot open google.com, amazon.com in the same browser session, right? I can do a news browser and do a google.com, but I cannot do a Google and Amazon on the same browser. So that means at any point of time, okay, only one IP can be sent by the browser. Okay, just keep that in mind. Okay, now let's go this. So Route 53, this is a service which is a DNS service. So there are some stories they used to say 53 for the number 53 because Amazon's headquarters is in the interstate highway 53, but basically it is 53. It denotes the port number of your DNS server. Okay, so Route 53 is a managed DNS domain name system mainly used for two things. You can register domains, you can buy domains, just like GoDaddy, Namecheap, and other things like Google domains. You can buy domains through AWS also, and you can also create a hosted zone in the managed name servers. So you can create a hosted zone for your registered domain. It's a global service with a single database. That is why when you go and check whether okay www.example.com is there or not, it's able to search the entire world and then come back and say example.com is available for you or not, right? So it's a single global service with a single database. It's globally resilient. That means if something goes down, it is already available in multiple regions, so it can still serve you. The service can be up and running. So it's a managed DNS system. DNS is nothing but domain name systems are nothing but collection of rules and records, which helps clients to understand how to reach a server through URLs, right? How to reach a server through URLs. The most important records that we have in Route 53 are A record, 4ES record, CNAME record, and alias record. There are so many records, but these are the four things that you need to keep in mind. One is A record, which is URL to IPv4 address. So that is like google.com mapping to 1.2.3.4, and 4ES is for URL to IPv6 address. We are not going to use this. Then we have CNAME. CNAME is nothing but canonical name, which points one URL to another URL. So it can be, say, for example, your example.com can point to search.example.com, something like that, right? And also any other load balancer, DNS name, everything you can point using CNAME. And you have something called alias. Alias also points from your URL to AWS resource. So we will see what is the difference, but you need to know the difference between CNAME and alias record. So this is what I told you, right? Your web browser will send this request, and it does not find the IP. It will send it to the Route 53. The Route 53 will return the record back with the IP address 32.45.67.85, and then your browser will send request on the internet, and it will find out this server and get the response back and give it to your browser. This is what it happens. Then every time your browser hits this DNS server, so they have to pay some money, right? So in order to do that, what they used to do, whenever they are creating a record, say google.com equal to 32.45.67.85, they will add something called time to live. It's called TTL. It's called time to live for that record. TTL. It's called time to live. Time to live. These are all in seconds. Okay. These are all in time in seconds. So what will happen is when you set this, suppose if this URL for this record, the TTL is set to say 60 minutes, for example. 60 minutes is 1 hour, right? So it goes and hits the DNS, gets this IP address and stores that IP address in cache for 60 minutes. And next time if somebody tries the same URL, the browser will not go to the DNS server. It will basically take it from cache and give you. That is why when you hit google.com, you are able to go to the page immediately. Otherwise, every time it has to hit the DNS server where you have to pay. At the same time, there will be a lag also, sometime depending upon your network. But all this happens in a fraction of milliseconds. Okay, so you will not actually able to find out what is happening, but this is how it happens. Okay, so we have to set a TTL for each and every record. That's a mandatory. So by default, always 5 minutes, 300 seconds is set, and you can go and change that to 1 minute or whatever you want, depending upon your requirement. Okay. So Route 53 can use public names that you own or you can buy, right? Private domain names that can be resolved by your instance in your VPC. You can either create a public domain or it can manage the private domain also. The private domain will not be accessible over internet. That is accessible or resolved only within your VPC. Route 53 has some advanced features like load balancing. That is nothing but client load balancing, where suppose there are multiple URLs, multiple IPs returned by one URL, it will store all the IPs and it will send only one IP at any point of time. So that means that's kind of a basic load balancing kind of thing. And we have something called health checks. We will see about this. This is all limited. And then very important with Route 53, you need to know for the exam, for the interviews, the routing policies. What are the different routing policies? How they work, that's what we have to know. So routing policies, we have simple, failover, geolocation, latency, weighted and multi-value. Very important, you pay $50 per month per hosted zone. So if you create a domain name, you purchase a domain name, you have to pay this by default whether you are using it or not, because every time your browser tries to hit that record, it has to go to the DNS server. The DNS server, our Amazon needs to pay them, right? So they will get it from us. So we talked about time to live. So each and every DNS record has a time to live. So when it queries something, the record will carry a TTL of 300 seconds by default. That means 5 minutes. So this IP will be cached in this browser for 5 minutes. And then every time you hit this google.com, it will basically take you to this place, right? So this is how it works. Okay. Now, how you will set your time to live record, right? It again depends on your requirement. If you're setting it high TTL, 24 hours, that means you will have less traffic on your DNS, right? So once it goes here, 24 hours, this will be cached here. You never have to go here until next day. But the problem with that is, if you are changing the URL, this browser will have an outdated URL. So you need to pick and choose your time to live correctly based on your requirement. If you're having low TTL, 60 seconds or less, right? More traffic on DNS, you have to pay more, but records are not outdated. And you want to change any record immediately, then if you are constantly changing your records, then it's better to go for low TTL. And TTL is mandatory for each and every DNS record that we are going to create. Okay, fine. So we talked about canonical name and alias. We need to see this. So AWS resources like load balancer, CloudFront, etc., they will expose some DNS URL. We saw that, right? And you wanted to map it to your own domain name. Okay, you want to map it to your own domain name. Then you can use a CNAME. You can point URL to any other URL. But only thing is, keep in mind, this can be used only for non-root domain. So what do you mean by non-root domain? I can only map this one to mail.google.com. I cannot map it to the root domain like google.com. Okay, so CNAME is always used only for non-root domain, whereas your alias can be used to, it works for both root domain and non-root domain, and it points the URL to an AWS resource, and it's free of charge, and you get a native health check for your alias records. So this is, you have to pay some money for the CNAME record, but for alias record, it's always free of charge. Okay, now let's go to the console and see what we have, and we will go through all the routing policies, right? So there are many ways you can purchase your domain. It's up to you. I have purchased using AWS only, but you can go and purchase outside also, like GoDaddy, Namecheap, Google Domains, right? There are so hosting there. So many things you see in the TV, right? TV and YouTube, you can see and you can find out and you can get for very less amount. So click on Route 53, scalable DNS and domain name registration. Please don't mix DNS with domain name registration. Both are different. Okay. Okay. This is what we have. So this is the place where you go and buy a domain. I already bought a domain. I have a domain. Okay. So which has expiration 2023. But I'll show you how to go and get this domain, right? So suppose you want, I'm not recommending you to buy this, but if you are really interested, you can go and buy. It will cost you like $9 to $12 depending upon the name that you select. Let's go and click on register domain. Suppose you want to find out, is there any name available for me, right? Check this. See, it says chandradcchennai.com is available for $12, and there's alternate related names also it has given you. All these are $12 whether you can buy or you want to see what is very less, right? Say for example .co.uk is $9 only. You can go, if it is there, you can go and buy. Okay, so these are all the different ways that you can go and check. As the name increases, see here .io is $71. Okay, depending upon the domain name, the price will vary. So see here info.co. There are few things which are very less also, right? You can have very less or very more. Say for example, accountants, accountant, adult sites, right? $100. Right? Like this, you can see a lot of things, right? Like casino. Casino is the one that is actually costly, more costly. Business, that this, so many things are there, and you can go see. See here, casino is $141 per year. All these are per year. So you can go and buy your this one like this. So should I only buy this? No, there are a lot of domains. You can go and buy something called Namecheap. Namecheap is one of the domain hosting service. You can go and find your name there again, and you can go and search here, and they'll give you very low prices and all, so you can go and buy them. Okay? So this is how you get 717.21 per year, 876. So many things that you can see. You can still go down and see so many things that can be cheap also, right? You can go and see. This is your Namecheap, and there is another site called Freenom. You can use that also. That is also very cheap. Freenom. Freenom is the name for everyone. You can go and again search there, and you can find out so many other things there. So that also you can go and check there, right? So sometimes they'll give you free. You can go and use this and do the free stuff, and you can also pay like $8, $6, and all those things, right? So many things. And also you have GoDaddy. Right? GoDaddy is our Indian. This one, GoDaddy. Go to GoDaddy. Should be able to find something here. Go and search, and you can go see. See, they give you 500 rupees for first year, and they will start increasing in the second year, right? So all these are for first year only. So you can go and buy this outside, or you can buy from here also. After you purchase this and add to cart, that will be added to your bill. After once it is done and everything is allocated to you, then you will be getting this. It will take 24 hours for it to register your domain. Okay. So first it will be in the pending request. Okay. Once you buy, it will be in the pending request. Of course, for me now nothing will be there. Once it is registered, it will move to the registered, this one. So this is just a domain name registration part, and this is where you will have the domain name records, where you create your records for all your zone, and it creates a public zone for you. When it's a public zone, it is routable over internet, and when you create this publicly, you get two records by default. I told you there are different types of records. C record, C name, alias, triple E, 4 A's and A, and there are some records called NS and SOA. these two records are created by default for you. NS is nothing but name server and SO is service of authority. Okay, these two should be there because this is how Amazon will route your this one to the respective DNS servers. These are all DNS servers used by Amazon. Suppose you buy a domain from GoDaddy, you will get an admin page in GoDaddy. So come and create the same name here and copy this form and go to that admin page in your name server and replace that with this one. What will happen when somebody tries to go to chandradc.org from from the domain that you purchased outside, it will go through this route. Okay, so this is how you can do. Okay, any questions here, guys? So far, it's very simple. You can buy your domain, but again, it is a little bit costly in Route 53, but it's very easy to manage if you buy through AWS. Okay, fine. Now let's talk about different routing policies, right? We'll go and see what are the different routing policies. So in order for us to do the routing policy, we need to have some EC2s or some applications running so that we can create our records to point to these URLs, right? So we'll try to go and do that first. Please stop me if you don't understand anywhere, okay? Okay, this is in Northern Virginia, that's fine. I'm going to keep all these things as usual. I'm just going to log in using 0201 and I will go and select an existing security group so that my AT is also allowed, right? And then I'm going to add my bootstrapping script that I've already shared with you, and that's what we are going to add it. So what we are going to do, we're going to paste it here, and you will say this is from US East 1, which is your Northern Virginia. Okay, let's launch this. Let's copy this public address. Let's have it here because we will need this. Go to the browser and check if your application is up, right? It will take some time. Once it's moved to running state, then you should be able to see your application. Once your application is up, then we can go and create records and see how we can go and access this, right? Now, I want to point my domain, right? The domain that you share it to your customer to point to your application. That's what we are going to see, how to do that. Just wait for a minute. Okay, we'll go through this. Let this come up. Okay, so this is a simple routing policy. It's very, very simple. It just maps one domain, maps a domain to one single URL. Use when you need to redirect to a single source, single resource, right? You can't attach any health checks for simple routing policy. Okay, you cannot do that. If multiple values are returned, a random one is chosen by the client. Suppose you have two machines, right? Your applications are running in two different machines, and you give the URL 1, 11, 12, 33, 44, 55, 66, 77, 88. Then what it will do? The browser will get both the DNS query will return both the IPs, and the browser will choose one IP randomly, and it will send you the request to the server. Okay, so we are done now. Let's go and try to see if we can create some records. Okay, so whenever you create a record, see, this is my, if I just leave it as it is my root domain. Or if I want to add something, right, say this is my blog, right, blog.chandradc.org, then it will route traffic to an IPv4 address or some AWS resource, and this is our IP. Okay, so I told you the TTL is default, it will be there, and you can go and decrease or increase. So we will make it 1 minute 60 seconds. And then routing policies, there are different routing policies. We are going to select simple routing policy. So simple routing policy will basically give you this IP back. So when you say blog.chandradc.org, it has to resolve to this IP. That is how your Google also works, right? So we will go and find out. Let's create this record. Okay, once you create the record, see here blog.chandradc.org is an A record, simple routing policy, and it will redirect the traffic to this machine. Let's go and try that and see. See here. Okay, now if you go back and change this URL or your URLs got changed, just go back here, select this and edit the record and change the URL. That's all, right? It's very simple. Any questions here, guys? And if you go to Windows, you can do ns lookup and say blog.chandradc.org. See, it is returning the address that we have put there, 18.209, 18.209, 55 and 54. Now you can also do a google.com resolves to this particular IP 142.250.196.46, right? Amazon.com actually resolves to multiple addresses, but your browser will get you only one address at any point of time, as I told you, right? Even though there are multiple addresses like this, right? So this is how it basically happens. Now let's go copy this, go to our record, go over, edit the record, right? Hosted zone. Edit the record. Let's also add this and see what happens, right? So if you're having multiple, please add it like this, right? So I've added the Amazon's IP. Let's see what happens. Now if I go to blog.this one, okay, or you go and search here, see it return, it will return both. After some time, it will return both. This is because your 60 minutes, this will be cached. Then after that, you will get that also, right? You will get a multiple, this one. So this is how your simple routing policy will work. So your browser will cache and it will send it back to your this one. Okay. Now let's go back. This is fine. Any doubt here for the simple routing policy? Again, you need to be very careful. This might be some other URL. So even if you copy this URL and go to here, you will not get anything because your Amazon will not allow you to do this. Okay. The reason for that is you have to go through this load balancer only, right? So that is why you're not able to get this page. That's fine. It's not able to resolve this. Okay, that's fine. This is the simple routing policy. Any questions on simple routing policy, guys?
No, Chandra. Thank you.
Okay. Right, now let's move to the next one, right? Next, we have something called weighted routing policy. So this policy is used to control the percentage of requests that can go into one specific endpoint. So it is helpful whenever you are releasing a new feature and you want to do a live testing on those new feature. So you can split traffic between two regions. You can associate that with a health check, and you can do a lot of things. So this is how basically it works. So if you would have noticed in your Yahoo, suppose if Yahoo is changing their layout or the UI, what they will do, they will release some beta version, right? Some beta version. Beta version will not be available to all the users. Only some selected range of users will get that. And they will actually do the live testing and they will give the feedback. Based on the feedback, then what they will do, they will send it to everybody or they will stop it depending upon the feedback. So this is how it happens. So you say always there are 3 machines. So 70% of the traffic should always go here, 20% will go here, 10% will go here. So likewise, you can say this can be any number. This can be any number between 1 and 65,536. It can be any number. But normally what we do, we always try to match with 100%. So it is easy for us to calculate, right? So the more the weight, the more traffic will go to that machine. So this is your weighted routing policy. So to get the weighted routing policy, we need to have one more machine. Otherwise, we cannot see this, right? So let's go launch another machine. Make it web access and go down and let's go to the end and let's go here, right? So let's go copy this. Okay, just for us to know this, let's say this is a blue color. Okay, and let's make this as maybe red color, right? And launch this system. Let's make this as a red color, just for us to see the difference, right? Otherwise, we will not know where it is going, right? You can go and check if that application is up. You should be able to see that in red. It will take few minutes for it to come up. Make sure your security groups are all correct, otherwise it will not work. So once it's up, then we will go and see it's up. So we are fine now. Let's go create a record for our weighted routing policy. So just say create record, and it can be any name that you want, but everything should be all the weight should be the same. This one. So it's a weighted. Okay. So what should happen? Okay, go here, scroll down, make it 1 minute, and go here for weighted routing policy. And here the weight that we need to give, right? So I can say 10% of my traffic needs to go to this machine, which is blue color. Health checks are optional. If you want, you can do, and there should be a record ID, unique ID, and let's give something else, W1. Okay? Create a record. You go down here, you can see weighted. The weight is 10 now for this particular machine. Let's create another record with the same name, weighted, right? Weighted, and now we will put this red color. Red color, make it 1, make it weighted, and you need to give a weight. Already I've given 10. Let's put all 90% of the traffic needs to go to this and go on to a record ID. Record IDs are nothing but just a unique name for this record. So we have two records, weighted.chandradc.org. Let's take this. So we told 90% of the traffic always needs to go to the red one. See, 90% of the traffic will always go to the red one. There is a very less probability that it will go to your 10% the blue one also, right? So this is the weight that you can control by sending the traffic to different machines. So what will happen when you say 10% of the traffic, you can put your new feature here and have your live customers test your new feature, right? This is the weighted routing policy. So all these policies, routing policies will come for your exam and as well as in the interview whenever they talk about Route 53. Any questions here, guys, before we move to the next one? Okay. Next, let's talk about latency routing policy. So latency routing policy is it will redirect to the server that has the least latency close to us. That means, suppose if I am in Australia and I have a system in Mumbai, I have EC2 in US. So since I've logged in from Australia, I'll be redirected to the EC2 which is closest to me, which is probably India one, right? So that will be the closer. It's a latency routing policies. Super helpful when latency of users is the top priority, right? You don't want your users, your application to be slow and the latency is a big priority for you. Then you need to go for this particular routing policy. Latency is evaluated in terms of user designated to AWS region. So based upon your IP, they will find out your country and from there they will be able to respond. So for example, some users in Germany may be redirected to US if that is the low latency. It is like this, right? So you have a EC2 in Australia, you have an EC2 in US. Now, people from this side of the world, for them, the US might be closer than Australia. And people of this side of the world, Australia might be closer than US, right? So it will redirect to the traffic to the closest and nearest resource that they have so that the latency is very, very less. Okay. So for this, what we need to do, we have to create one more system because we have everything in the US, right? So let's go and try to create something in Mumbai or Singapore, wherever you want, right? It's up to you. Okay, let's go launch the instance and just keep everything by default. The keeper. Okay, something we are not going to log in. Okay. Allow traffic, allow HTTP also, so that we will be able to kind of see the page. Let's go down and copy our script here from here, and we will go on. Okay, let's make it green and say hello world from Mumbai. Okay, and go ahead and launch this machine. So this is in Mumbai. Okay, just give it a minute. It has to come up. Okay. Once it is up, then we should be able to kind of go and see our this one. So see, the probability of getting this 10% might be less, but you will get it in some traffic on the weight and stuff, right? So once it is up, let's go and set this, and then we will create a latency routing policy and see if I log in from India, I have to always go to only Mumbai. If somebody logs from US, they will have to log in, they will have to go only to US. Still it's going on. Share. Hello world from Mumbai. We are fine now. Let's go create the record for our latency policy. So what I'm going to say, it's going to be latency. Keep the name as latency itself. And what we will do, whenever people from US or that part of the world they log in, then they will have to redirect to this one and make this as 1 minute and make this as latency routing policies. Health checks are optional. What is the region this one belongs to, right? This one belongs to US East 1, Northern Virginia, right? So and say L1 as your latency record ID, create this record. Create another record again with latency. The URL should be the same, okay? You cannot change the URL for each and every record. So this is your Mumbai. Latency routing policy. Choose the region as Asia Pacific Mumbai and make this as L2. Okay, create this record. Okay, now we have these two records, latency record. One is US East one is Asia Pacific, which is your Mumbai. Now let's go and see. I'm in India. I have logged in. Let's go and see what I'm getting. I'm getting Mumbai only. Okay, so whoever is in this part of the world, everybody will be redirected to the Mumbai. Now let's log into a US machine and check and see what happens, right? For that, let's go to one of the running machine here and do a connect. Okay, I'm actually getting into the US machine now. Okay, and I'm going to access the same URL. How do I access? I say curl latency dot. See, I'm getting red color from Mumbai. I'm not having a browser, so I'm able to see the entire stuff here. Okay, so when I log in from US, it's only going to US. Any number of times I hit, it will go to this particular red color only. But if I'm in Mumbai, if I'm in India or this side, I will be able to do this. If you want to still test this out, create a machine in Frankfurt and then log in there, and you can go and see whether you will get Mumbai or US depending upon the distance that they are in, right? So this is your latency routing policy. Okay. Now we'll talk about health checks, right? Because for the next failover policy, the health checks are mandatory. So let's go and see what are health checks. Health checks are nothing but like you can say like there are different public health checkers which will run against the URL that you give. It will keep validating whether your health is all fine or not. Based upon that, it will route the traffic to a primary. It will check the health of the primary, and if there is some issue, then it will redirect to the secondary. Okay, so default health check interval 30 seconds. You can set it as 10 seconds also. There is a higher cost. About 15 health checkers will check your endpoint. Every request, every 2 seconds on an average, it will keep checking. You can have HTTP, TCP, or HTTPS health records, but no SSL verification is needed for that. You don't have to install any certificate. You can integrate health checks with CloudWatch. You can do that also, and health checks can be linked to the DNS queries. So we'll go ahead and see how to do this. So after creating the health check, we should be able to do this failover routing policy. So this is basically used for disaster recovery. So you have a primary, say US is primary, failover is Mumbai. So anything happens, it will always check the health of this primary. If everything is fine, it will always redirect the traffic only to this one. If you stop this Apache server or something has happened to the health, it will redirect to the secondary disaster recovery EC2. This is what your failover routing policy is, right? Just like our RDS failover, this is also failover specifically used for disaster recovery. Here health checks are mandatory, especially for whatever that you designate as primary, they are mandatory for that. Okay, let's go create a health check. Let's see how to create health checks. Go here and you can see health checks here. Click on health checks, create a health check, and we will call this as a US health checks. US health check, right? So that means the server in the US, right? And it's an endpoint, and you can either give an IP address or it can be some other domain name also if you want, right? So we will make this guy red, right? So we'll keep this guy IP address, okay? And it's going to search on slash. So if you basically copy this, it will go, it's going to give you the page, right? It's anyway going to give you the page for you. See here, it's going to give the page. So it will keep on hitting on this URL to get a response, which it will get. So it will pass the health check. You're just doing a basic health check. No additional option is selected. If you select, then you will have to pay this one. Go to the advanced configuration. Here you can see request interval, whether it is 30 seconds or 10 seconds. 10 seconds is faster, but you have to pay some additional cost to it. Failure threshold, 3 times if it says it is failed, it is failed. That's all. Then string matching, you want to match any string that's coming from the response that is coming from there? No. You can put latency graphs if you want. And we will talk about this invert health checks later. Disable health check you want to disable. By default, it has to be enabled. Health checker regions, these are all the regions from where the health checker, public health checker will run. Or you want to customize, you can go and customize and select wherever you want, right? We will use all the health checkers. And this will be the health check. Do a next. You want to get notified? No. Create a health check. Health checks will take some time. First time it will be in unknown status. Then as the health checkers, see here, these are all the health checkers will come. See, the health checkers have already started to throw all the results back, saying everything okay, okay, okay. And it has to wait for 2 or 3 times to do that. Let that be done. Let's create another health check for Mumbai. And we need not actually use for any secondary, but still you can go use this, right? So I'll say nothing, I'm going to change. Okay, there are 2 records. Just wait for a minute. Okay. Let this come up. Then we should be able to see the US is healthy. Okay, it will take few minutes for the India health check also to come up. While this is coming up, let's go to our hosted zone and create a failover policy. Okay, create a record saying failover routing policy. So what will be your primary? My primary want to be this US, red color to be the primary. Okay, and TTL will be 1. Okay, see here. When I say failover routing policy, health checks are optional. But if you select what is this type of record, whether it is a primary or secondary, for just note down here, it is optional now. If I select primary, it is mandatory. If I select secondary, it is optional. Okay, so this record will be primary. So this is my health check, my US health check has to take in, and this is your failover policy. So let's make it F1. Create the record. Let's create another record with again same thing for secondary. Failover. Secondary will be Mumbai. Secondary need to go to, suppose something happens to the primary region, then automatically disaster recovery should go here, right? It's a failover policy. Record type is secondary. So your health checks are not needed, right? It's optional. Whether you want, you can select. Okay, that's fine. India health check. Then we will say F2 as your failover policy ID. Create this and go down here, check out this health check to make sure you are able to see both healthy. Both are healthy now. Right? Now go back to our this one, and this is my failover routing policy. See, by default the primary goes to the red. Okay, wherever you go and do this, right? it will go to that. Failover, see, it goes to the right because our this one is already available. So our health checks are fine. So it's redirecting to primary. Now we need to mimic that primary is down. It has to go to the secondary. For that, what we will do, go to the health check. And we saw an option to invert the health check, right? Go to the US health check. Go to health checkers. Sorry. So this is the latency graph that you can see here. This is the graph that you can see. Okay. Go here and say edit health check. And go to advanced configuration and say invert health check. That means if it is healthy, it will become unhealthy. Invert health checks and save it. Give it the time, give it some time. What will happen? Since your primary is down, it has to go to the secondary. Just give it some time because it has to do 3 health checks failure. Keep refreshing this. Then if your primary is down, automatically it has to go to your secondary, which is your Mumbai. So it's unhealthy. Now go and click on this. It has to fail over to your Mumbai. Just give it a minute. See, we are already failed over to Mumbai. Here the browser cache might be there. Just hold on. See here. So your primary has been failed over to secondary. So this is used for disaster recovery. If something happens to my primary, then automatically my secondary will come up. So just make sure in both primary and secondary, the applications are identical or similar, right? If they are not identical, then you will get one application there, and in the secondary, you will get another application. So this is how you can play around with your records. Okay, see here, still your URL will remain the same. Okay, all your URL will remain the same, but by default, it will check on the health check, and based on the health check, it will go on, come back. Then it has to be back again, and it will go to the primary. Always, whenever the primary is healthy, it will go to the primary only. Okay, so just keep this in mind. Okay. Any other questions, guys, for this? Okay, see here, already we have changed from US back to US. Okay. Here, browser, there will be cache. So just hold on for some time, you will get it. Okay, fine. Any questions, any doubts on this this routing policy type, failover routing policy? Okay. Let's go with the geolocation routing policy. Now, geolocation routing policy, this is different from latency based. Latency based means whichever is closest to you, you will be redirected there. Whereas geolocation routing policy is you say, okay, if the user is from UK, you go to this machine. If the user is from Mumbai, go to this machine. If the user is from US, go to this machine, right? Like that you can say specifically this is for country based and country based. Okay, for US alone, you have state based also. If it is Kentucky, go to this. If it is Arlington, go to this, right? So all those things you can do. So based on the user location, you can route the traffic to this one. So what is advantage of this? So can you think of a use case where we might use this? So Amazon uses this by default, right? So if a guy in the UK hits Amazon.com, he is taken to the Amazon.co.uk's page. Whereas when we type Amazon.com, we are taken to Amazon.in. It shows all our Indian products, right? So all these are based upon your geolocation routing policy. Okay. What will happen? You will be able to create based on the country, and if you don't have specified, say for example you specify only US people need to go to one server A, and India people need to go to server B. What about the others, right? So you have to create a default policy for that. In case it doesn't match the location, everybody will be redirected to that particular mission. Okay, that's how this happens. So anybody from UK will go to this IP, and then from France they may go to this IP. Other than these two countries, whoever is coming in, this is for an example, but we will see how this will work, right? It will go to some default record. This is called geolocation routing policy. So this geolocation routing policy, it uses our IP, it will go to the geo database and it will find out our country, and based on that it will do it. So let's go and see if we can create this geolocation routing policy. For that, what we need to do, we have to do the reverse. Okay, so whenever people from India join, India try to access, they have to be redirected to the US, and then this was similarly, right? Go to the hosted zone. Health checks are mandatory for your failover policies. All other policies, they're all optional. So this is a geolocation routing policy. So what I can say, I can say geo, and you will say people from US should always go to Mumbai. Okay, make it 1 minute. When you change this to geolocation, it will ask you what is the location, right? So who will be able to see this? Either you can go by continents. For North America alone, you have like states also, right? You have like New York, right? See, New York, New Jersey, New Hampshire. These are all US states. Only for US, you can go up to state. So first level will be country, then for US will be state, then continent, country, state. Like you can go however you want, right? So it depends. Either you can say anybody who logs in from Asia needs to go to this machine, or you can specifically say if people from India, right? People from India log in, they will have to go to this Mumbai, right? Like that you can say, and we will say anybody from North America logs in needs to go to this Mumbai machine, right? And the health checks are optional. You don't have to worry. Since this is called geo, let's make it G1. Create a record. So let's create another record, say again geo, and now what we will do, I think we did the other way around. You have to change that. So people from India needs to go to the US. Okay, people from India need to go to the US. Yeah, it's correct only. North America needs to go to the Mumbai, and people from India needs to go here. Now, what happens if somebody else logs in, right? Somebody else other than these two countries try to log in, you can create a default record, and that's again called geo. So geo dot this one, and now by default they will go here. Other country people will get into this particular server. Of course, we are not from any other country, so we will not be able to show this, but still this is how it is done. Go to geolocation, and now you say default record. So other than these two countries, if anyone else logs in, they have to go to this one. So now if you go and create a machine in Singapore and try to access, it will go to the default record. Okay, So now let's go and see what happens. I am in India, so I have to go to the US one. See here, I'm going to the US one. So I'm in the US. Where is this? I'm in the US and I have to go to the Mumbai. Just check this one, right? Let me clear this out for you. Okay, see what happens. It goes to Mumbai. So whenever I log in from North America, I'll be redirected to Mumbai. Okay, whenever I log in from India, I should be redirected to US. Other than these two countries, if I try to log in with some other machine or some VPN or something, I should be redirected to the default one, whatever that we have given. This is on the geolocation policy. So this is specifically used, it is used to restrict some content within our country, right? Say for example, there is some copyright, something which cannot go out of India, right? So all those things will be, so anybody who logs into India will be redirected to that only. So if you log into Amazon, it shows only Indian products for us. But if you log into the US Amazon, it's the same Amazon.com only. But what will happen? You still will be redirected to a server where it will show all products, all American products, correct? With American dollars and all those things. Similarly, if you go to Australia, it will show Australian products. Go to Singapore, it will go Singapore products. So all these are all done using this geolocation policies. It's the same URL. Please keep in mind, it's the same URL. Okay. So when we do from US, it is a different one. When we do from India, it is a different one. So to do that, let's go and see. Okay, I'm not able to call from Amazon for some reason. If you have the browser in the US, then you can go and see. Only it will go to the US. And for us, the same IP will go only to our Amazon.in, right? So it will go to Amazon.in. And this is how your geo location routing policy works. Any questions here, guys? And then we have something called multi-value routing policy used when routing to multiple resources. You want to associate Route 53 health checks with records, you have to do this. Up to 8 healthy records are written for each multi-value query. Multi-value is not a substitute for having an ELB. Okay, just keep that in mind. It is not a ELB, but it will return multiple records, and then each and every record will have its own set of health checks. Okay, so this is your multi-value routing policies. You can go and create this, and you can try out this and let me know if you're facing any issues on this. You need to have multiple records on this. Okay. And again, you can go and do all the NS lookup here, and you can go and find out everything, what is exactly happening, right? So 390. I'm in India, so I'm getting only the value of the US. Now, if I'm in the US, I'm doing the same query. Let's see what happens. So there is a command called dig in Linux. Do a dig and say see here, your answer is now returning as 13, which is your Mumbai. Right? And one thing with the dig is you can also see the TTL value. 60 has become 47 now. This is the TTL value. That's the advantage of using dig in Linux. Okay, both are same. And then, as we saw, how to register a domain name registrar is an organization that manages the reservation of internet domain names. Some of the famous domain name providers are GoDaddy, Google Domains, and also Route 53. Again, please keep in mind, domain registrar is not equal to domain name server. Both are different. Okay, there are differences in both. So suppose if you buy your domain on a third-party website, you can still use Route 53 as I told you. You have to create a hosted zone in Route 53 and update the NS record on you will get these two records here. once you create, say for example, you purchased a domain outside, right? Say for example, I purchased a domain called dc.in. For example, I purchased from GoDaddy. Go and create a hosted zone here. What it will do, see here, it will give you this namespace records. Copy this, go to your GoDaddy, and they will have their default namespace. Change that to this one. So when you purchase a domain from outside, you can still go and use your this one. Okay, so that is where this one says even if you purchase in the outside, you can still be able to use your Route 53. You can create a hosted zone in Route 53, update your namespace record in your third-party website to use the 53 name server. Again, reiterating, domain registrar is not equal to domain name server. Domain name server basically does the querying for you, right? Basically, it does the querying for you. It does the querying in the DNS section. Domain name registrar will only find out if the name is available and will register against your name. While you are registering, you need to give a 3 type of contact: technical contact, personal contact, and who is the administrator contact for this particular domain. Okay. So this is what we have for Route 53. Any questions here, guys? Before I go on, I'm just trying to clean up. Please let me know if you have any queries. So please be very careful in deleting those records. Don't accidentally delete anything that you have purchased or you have done it, right? Okay, that's fine. You go to the health checks. Delete the health check. Go back to the hosted zones and get inside the hosted zone and select the records that you want to delete. Please leave this namespace and SOA records by default, right? Don't do anything. Select all the records that we create, right? Geo, latency, weighted, right? And go ahead and do a delete. Before you delete it, it will again show you here. So make sure you are only selecting the one that we created, right? Go and do a delete. Okay, keep only the namespace and SOA record by default, right? Again, I'm not recommending you to purchase, but it's up to you. You want to purchase, you need to pay about $12 to purchase, and it is valid for 1 year. And either you can do an auto renew, or you can just go and renew based on your this one. Okay. Going to the Mumbai. Okay. Just hold on until it is terminated. Then you can go and start terminating your out of this. Go to the instances here. You have 2 instances running in be sure to clean up once you are done, so you don't incur any new charges, right? So Mumbai is done. Any questions, guys? Any questions you have? Please get it clarified. Okay. Yeah, free now you can buy free also, but they will give you the website, and you need to make sure you are updating the namespace record so you can use your Route 53 for that, right? So hosted zone, get inside the hosted zone. Go to the hosted zone and make sure you are having only your required records there. Go to Route 53. Go to the registered domains. And this is what I told you. You have to give some registered contact, administrative contact, technical contact, right? All those things you can do. And you can also do a auto renew. Every 1 year, automatically it will get renewed with $12 or whatever amount. Or you can go and extend every time. That also you can go do it. Okay. And you can transfer your domain to somebody else also, right? You can do that also. You can go and do that. Okay. You can transfer it to another account. Okay. This is on the route 53, and these are all different workflows that they have, where you can create different types of policies. Traffic policy, for example, you can go and create some policies like this, right? Type A, primary, secondary. If it is primary, then you write a weighted rule on primary, and then like this you can do this, right? So you can go and create a traffic policy, right? And then you can go and see all your policy records that are there, right? Then you can also see some resolvers, whether your private domains are able to resolve within your VPC, right? So you can go and do all those things. This is not more, it's out of scope for our course or this one, but still you need to know the very basic important thing that you need to know is all the routing policies, how it works, right? So I've shown you all the routing policies. Please go ahead and try to take a look at this video. If you have purchased a domain somewhere or you want to try it out, please go and try it out. Or if you already have a domain also, please go and try. And if you have any queries, please let me know. Okay. Okay. What else? So we will start on the CloudFront in the next class. We will start on CloudFront, where we will be seeing how to distribute our content using content delivery network architecture, right? And I hope you guys have already downloaded the older videos. If not, please download it. I'm actually running out of space. I would request you to download the complete stuff. Okay. Okay, I'm already 93% full. So please go ahead and download your EC2, S3, VPC, right? And all the other things. I will upload this PPT and the video once it is available. And please download and confirm so that I can go and delete the older ones. At least the EC2 ones, I will go and delete it. Okay, we have the complete EC2. Okay, so please make sure you guys download that without fail. Okay, each and everything is like 1.5 hours, so you have around 4 hours to 4.5 hours for EC2, all the features. Okay, don't miss to download this. I don't have the copy of this. Okay, fine. Any other queries? Anyone has any other queries before we close for today? Okay. No, I hope you guys, yeah. I hope next time whenever you hit any URL in the browser, you need to think of this process, right? What actually happens in the background. It doesn't come just like that for you. This is what we as engineers, we need to know what is happening behind the scene. The common layman will not know this. They will only think when I put Google, you will get Google. It's not the way. The browsers can talk to one machine can talk to another machine only through IPs. So how are these IP records are being laid out and how the search happens? Think of as an inverted tree, and this particular dot will be sent by default. Okay, by default it will be sent. Okay, even whether you type this dot or not at the end of your URL, whenever you are hitting enter, it will automatically put a dot after that .com or whatever it is at the end, and then it will send the record to the DNS server. Okay. Okay. Fine. I think we are done. So we will meet next week, and we'll try to complete the CloudFront and other services. Okay. So we should be done by close to September 2nd to 3rd week, right? We should be done. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Chandra.
Any other questions? Yeah. Any questions you guys have? Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.